Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Hot today, isn't it? It's crazy.
It is, it is. I'm not looking forward to going out there. I think I managed to avoid it for today, but sooner or later I'll have to emerge from my cave.
Oh no, it's going to be 30, 31°C at the weekend. That's
That
horrible.
scares me. That scares me. I'll be on the
Yeah.
Piccadilly line, shuttling in and out of the town centre, and oh,
I became a horror author, so I didn't have to do commutes like that. I did it for 20 years. I couldn't do it again. I couldn't. Oh no, no, it's not for me. Go on then. Why did you become a horror author?
well, I've always had nightmares, right? This is not exactly why I became a horror author, but one way it's eventually helped me is I've always had nightmares, and I found that actually writing them into stories made them go away for a bit, especially the recurring ones,
Yeah.
which is extraordinary. But in terms of, I guess, why I became a horror author, I suppose first I started reading horror. Um, and when I was 10, a boy in my class lent me um, Night of the Crabs by Guy Smith.
Oh, that
So
classic.
I know it was my first one, and because I was never very sporty and generally a bit of a loner and quite a chubby kid, I would sort of hide during lunch breaks in class a bit, and I had my Night of the Crabs hidden in a science book, so I actually got caught by a teacher who was wondering why I was reading a science book, instead of out playing, and
Yeah.
she inspected it and found Night of the Crabs, and I thought I'd be in really big trouble, but I think she was so stumped as to what to do with me that she just completely said nothing and let it go. So so I really, for some reason, really it kind of blew my mind because I'd obviously never read anything like it. And
Nobody has.
I know, right? I know. And then I discovered this antique shop. I think it was called Chiswick Antiques. But in my head, it was called Needful Things, like in the Stephen King novel. And
Yeah.
they had the most amazing things. So they had all these used, well thumbed paperbacks for like 2p. So I started
Nice.
getting James Herbert, Stephen King, Ramsey Campbell, um, anthologies put together by Stephen Jones. So that's how I got into reading horror. And then various jobs that I had seemed to always involve writing. I think the most weird one was I wrote a weekly column for the Evening Standard called "The Man on the Clapham Omnibus," and all it was all readers would write in with complaints, and I was told to sort of research their complaints and write about them in a camp and pompous style. So that was one of my writing jobs. I know. So I had lots of I don't know, writing was always part of my work, and then I got the film bug and went off to try and make films and got into screenplays, writing my own screenplays through that. And then when life sort of got in the way and I was caring for my dad and then my mum and things, and also never getting any funding to actually make the films, I just started. Somebody suggested, "We'll write short stories," which was a really good solution because you don't need money to make something out of them. You can just They just come out, you get them published relatively quickly. So it was quite a circuitous route and a very circuitous answer, but that's kind of how I got into horror writing.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you have done so many different things. I mean, you mentioned you've written uh, short stories and prose, and you've done screenplays, and poetry. You have such versatility. How do you find the different mediums?
Newt, firstly, Thank you for that way of phrasing it. I would say jack of all trades, master of none. But but
Um, you've just won a
you
Stoker Award. You are a master.
bless you. Um, no, but I think they made a mistake. But you know what? Maybe not, because the book was discontinued. Death Ensues was a collaborative effort. So that was thanks to, the other authors and the co-editor. But thank you for your kind words. They're much appreciated. To answer your question, well, I guess in a way, short stories are my favorite thing to write because the older I get, the shorter my concentration span. So, um, you have a well, I guess when you're writing, it's never really finished to one's satisfaction, right? But
Yeah.
at least with a short story, if you have a deadline or if you've got something else that captures your interest and you want to get on with it, at least it's over and done with fairly quickly in comparison to, say, a feature length screenplay or something, even though it's never going to be perfect, but it's quicker to do. um Screenplays are a funny one. I do love writing screenplays, but there's a lot of things you can't do. So you can't say what your characters are thinking or feeling or smelling or tasting. So literally, show don't tell. You literally have to do that and keep it as simple as possible and cut out all the flowery phrases. You can tell that I ramble, so you can't do that in a screenplay. So, but yeah, it's great trying the different forms of writing.
It sounds like a really interesting challenge.
It is. It is when I get going, I talk too much. So yeah, it is trying to keep things short and simple.
And what's your writing routine like? Do you have a
My,
specific routine?
I have a very specific writing routine, Newt. So I procrastinate all day in
Yeah.
every possible way. Um, and then eventually it gets really late and I can procrastinate no longer. So then I start writing and then I just write through the night. So
I think we figured out why you and I have no sleep.
So
And
I can't recommend that method to anyone, but
so, other
it's
than
quite
using insomnia to like power your writing routine, do you have like a favorite drink? Is it like tea, coffee, um, soda water, um, vodka? What's your
once very good question. Well, once upon a time it was vodka, but alas, I had to switch to tea. So it was I know, right. I guess eventually a lot of us have to. But so
yeah?
so it was tea for a long time, and then I went to Vegas unsupervised, which is a whole different tale. But in America, they have these amazing, huge jugs of coffee that they give you, and then if you don't drink all of it, they will put it in a takeaway giant paper cup sometimes, if you're lucky. So I really got into drinking coffee, and I never really stopped.
I shouldn't drink coffee, but because I'm terrible at doing what I'm told, I then bought a bean to cup coffee maker, and so now I it's absolutely delicious. But I now sit at my desk going, which is what you need to do on the keyboard, but it's supposed to come out coherently. But it explains a lot of my stories.
You make proper coffee. I'm
Oh, I
really
really do.
impressed.
I
Oh my goodness.
black and raw. That's how I
Oh
take it.
wow. Oh wow.
And so you've been published by many of like the traditional publishers. Have you done
Yeah.
self-publishing as well?
I haven't done self-publishing. No, I I dare say I'll give it a go one day. apart from all the technical things that
Oh, there's
I'm
so
very
much
lazy
technical
about.
stuff.
There's the yeah, I know,
And the
right? And then
marketing.
there's and the marketing, which is where you know, I think one doesn't realize how much help one gets from publishers with regards to marketing and actually getting one's books read until one tries to self-publish. Says me, who's never self-published, but I imagine that it's very hard to get
Yeah.
people to read your book unless you're
Yes.
very popular.
Yeah, yeah. You've got to guide them to the book with marketing or advertising, and we've done a few sort of parts of the show on the different versions of marketing and advertising. But you basically have to do something because there are so many books on Amazon. If you just put your book up there and leave it, no one will find it. No one's going to find it. So you've got to put the work in.
Yeah.
And how did you get into traditional publishing? Do you have an agent or do you talk to the publishers directly?
I don't have an agent. I was very lucky because a friend of mine knew Paul Finch, who of course is Paul Finch, an incredible writer and editor and person. um, and he um, and I wanted to get a short story published, and he recommended Charles Black, who created the Black Books of Horror and was a very, very nice, amazing, modest, talented man who sadly died in his early 50s, and is very, very much missed. And he published my first story and then continued to publish me in the Black Books of Horror, and then eventually published my first collection through Mortberry Press, through his publishing house. So I was just incredibly lucky in that respect. That there's always an element of luck, isn't there, to things.
There is, but there's also the hard work that goes by it. Uh, as much as luck
It's hard work.
is a part of our career, hard work gives you more rolls of the dice, is the way I always see it. Um,
Yes, very
so yeah,
true. Well put.
nothing's truly down to luck. You've got to put the graft in as well, which you absolutely do. The sheer amount of content you've produced over the years. I mean, you are prolific.
Gosh, news. I don't know. I think I haven't done nearly as much as everybody else, but I guess because they're short stories, it makes it look like there's more of it than there really is.
I mean, I'm a short story writer as well, so I rely on that. It's a, what
I
is
look forward very much to reading more of your work. Are
oh,
you
thank you.
self-published? Are you
Yeah, absolutely.
self-published? Cool.
I very briefly considered going through the route of applying to agents and applying to publishing houses. And I think I applied to a single agent. And then when they didn't reply within 24 hours, I got frustrated and published it because I'm not a patient man. I lack discipline, self-control, um, self-awareness, any of these things. I just wanted my stories out there. And so I did that. And then I was like, right, okay, now I've got to figure out the rest of it, which I did,
Which you
which you got
did.
to do. So,
Oh, fantastic.
uh, given my sort of rather chaotic way of publishing, what would be your advice if someone came up to you and said, I've written my first short story, what should I do?
I would say it's worth, well, again, I haven't experienced the self-publishing side of things. And I know that, and I'm just like, I'm always 20 years behind everyone and everything. So I know a lot of people are publishing on Substack and other online places that I have yet to discover. But so there's that route to look at. But I would say also, just why not try to also go the traditional route? So So send out your short story to, I would say to, I mean, my favorite thing is anthologies. I know there are also fantastic magazines and journals and wonderful places and online sites, but it's so much fun to be in an anthology, and when you get your book and there's lots of other authors in it. Um, so I would say just try and send your story to as many places as you can. Check, because some of them say um, no simultaneous submissions, although then you end up waiting
Oh,
6 months and possibly getting rejected. But a lot of publishers don't mind simultaneous submissions, and there were, probably still are, various websites that publish open submissions calls. There used to be a very good one called Ralan, Ralan, but I think they stopped functioning. But there's things like Horror Tree, and Authors Publish, and I think there was one called Publishing and Other Forms of Insanity. And there are also groups on Facebook that if you just put open, see, this is how behind I am. I'm still on Facebook, and I think most people have moved on to a large degree.
I know that
But if
there's a huge community on Facebook still.
that's, yeah, no, that's good because that's the only place I really function on, virtually, sort of. But even if you put open submission calls or open horror markets or story markets in Facebook, there are groups where people very kindly post whenever they see that somebody's looking for a short story. So I think it's worth trying. And I think the most important thing to remember is that persevere. Just don't be put off by anything, especially not by rejections, because
Mhm.
my goodness, I mean, there are so many reasons why a story is rejected. It's very, very rarely because it's a bad story. I mean, there's things like, does it fit with a particular anthology and what the editor that has in mind? Is there already a similar story? Um, Subjective taste is a really big one. I, I've actually been invited to submit to a story to particular anthologies, and that story's then been rejected. And then it's been rejected by 10 other random places I sent it to. And then it goes to one anthology, and they say, oh, wow, this is the best story you've ever written. So, seriously, and I've had that
Yeah,
a few times, that people 10 people will hate a story, and then one editor, one publisher will be so pleased to have it. So if there's one thing I can say is just don't give up, and don't take anything to heart. Don't take anything personally, and just keep going and try different things.
yeah.
Try different things.
And also, we are going to make some mistakes, especially early on, but you've got
Yeah.
to get those out of the system. It's all part of the learning curve. I've been very lucky with some very, very good editors in my time, and some beta readers who drive me up the wall, but they are so pedantic that they are phenomenal as beta readers and drive me to despair when we're down the pub. But I've been very, very lucky with them.
That's that's a really good point. That's a really good point, and so have I. And I think a really important thing to remember if you are self-publishing is that even if you're an editor yourself, even if you're brilliant at writing, at editing, we never, from the little things to the big things, we I mean, I don't, I'm very good at spotting other people's typos, but not my own. It's always good to have another pair of eyes.
Yeah,
Um, Always, whether it's the story, whether if something makes perfect sense in your head because you've been living with it, perhaps you haven't quite got it down on paper the way it's in your head. Perhaps it's not as clear, or perhaps you're saying something slightly different, and that's where other people will will point things out or just ask you questions, and then you realize, I thought that was clear, but it isn't. So just especially working with professional editors, but even, you know, beta readers, friends, and anyone, any extra pair of eyes will help. But if you can work with a professional editor, if you're self-publishing, I think that's a really good way forward.
Absolutely. I think one of the disadvantages of self-publishing is you have nobody to say no to you. And I have definitely published stories that when I look back upon them, I think they could have used a bit more work, or they're almost right. Um, I just needed to polish them a bit more. And then there were some that I'm like, oh, you were having an off day, weren't you?
Same
That
with
should
all of
not have
us.
seen, yeah, that should not have seen the light of day. No matter how excited you were about having type in the end and then getting your feedback and going, oh yes, oh this is a classic, and then a few years later you look at it and you're like, oh dear, buddy. But yeah,
Newt, I think you're being way too modest there, but in general, that is a really good rule.
thank you. So not only have you been working on screenplays and prose, but you're you're currently programming the Raindance Film Festival at the moment. That
I am.
what can audiences look forward to this year?
Well, yes, and it's definitely a matter of old dogs learning new tricks, reprogramming the Raindance Film Festival. But it is, there is actually, if I say so myself, a very cool lineup of films. And I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the horror films for us in a moment, but just for everyone. I mean, I think we've got 70 feature films, 18 programs, 18 showcases of short films, which are everything from horror to documentary to young sort of people's topics to um, social issues, climate issues, animation. Um, but really, it's quite extraordinary, and also, and so there were a lot of British films. Um, then there are films from all over the world. I mean, I'm so proud that I've managed to get an incredible thriller into the horror strand, um, from Kazakhstan. And I mean, it's brilliant. It's like a sort of, I guess, rape revenge thriller, um, but based in a sort of political context with corrupt police and these awful gangs, and a father who's actually a corrupt police officer, but when it's his daughter, he then goes on the rampage. So I mean, Kazakhstan, and my God, it's an amazing film. I've never seen a film from Kazakhstan, and this one blew me away. So that's just
Fantastic.
one example. But also the Rain Dance motto is discover, be discovered. So there are so many films by first-time directors. Um, Really, all the films, all the features are premieres of one sort. So it might be a UK premiere or it might be a world premiere where it's the first time ever in the world that something's being shown. And these are independent films, so they range from, and they are good, so don't be put off by what I'm about to say, but they range from something made on a cell phone for a few $1,000s to really big, um, amazing looking productions made outside the studio system. We've got an extraordinary Shakespearean adaptation, which is, I think, a Germany, Poland, France co-production. It's an absolutely epic, long but extraordinary adaptation of Richard III, set among um, Arab gangs in Berlin, and the Richard III character is a woman. a sister who eventually takes out various male members of her family. But I mean, the range of films, what from tiny first time films to big productions is extraordinary. Um, what else can I say? That there are things for Star Trek fans. There's a Shakespearean. There's an adaptation of Shakespeare's The Tempest, which is set on a desert planet with a Star Trek-like crew that get marooned on it. There's a documentary. Um, there's a Star Trek documentary about the making of a fan film a long time ago, and also about how Star Trek really helped bring in sort of diversity and inclusion into television.
Oh,
What else?
absolutely.
I'm rambling, so I'm just gonna say I'm gonna stop and I'm just gonna say that the Rain Dance Film Festival is from the 18th to the 27th of June, and there is, for the first time ever, a dedicated back-to-back horror weekend, which runs from the evening of Thursday the 19th to the end of Sunday the 22nd. Um,
And that's
and
your
you,
doing as well, isn't it?
that's my
So you're
doing
bringing in a
for us
new renaissance
for us
of
horror
horror.
fans. Say that again.
I said you're
I,
bringing in a new renaissance of horror.
oh, you have such a lovely way of putting things. Well, you know what? I mean, not, let's just say not everybody likes horror. So I'm just proud because this was quite a difficult thing to push through. But I had the backing of Elliot Grove, who founded Rain Dance 33 years ago and who is an amazing um, person, and managed to, with his backing, I got the horror pushed through. So
Fantastic.
my Kazakhstan film is in there, but also some excellent British films and crazy Australian comedy, horror, and all sorts.
Oh,
Um,
exploitation is one of my favorite genres.
you know, me too. Things like Storm Warning, and but I was just thinking, I was just wondering. I suppose is this exploitation? It's too silly, but in a good way, because the
Yeah,
exploitation films are quite serious, aren't they? Would you say? I mean,
I
Storm
think that
Warning.
there are different varieties of
Yeah,
exploitation. I
yeah,
definitely so um you've definitely got comedy versions of
right,
exploitation movies. Like so
right,
you've got Wolf Creek, which is obviously not a comedy,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
a very exploitation movie. But then oh gosh, the name eludes me now. We went and we saw an Australian horror comedy. And I think, I mean, the exploitation part of it is that the Australians were being so Australian. They had to translate to their English person, who they conveniently had an English friend there, so that they could let them know what all the words meant, so they could be as Australian as they wanted.
Excellent. Okay, good. So it is an exploitation. We've nailed that one.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's more Australian than Australia, then it's
It is.
exploitation.
It is. It is. It is. Yep.
In the
So,
comments, people are probably going to tell me that I'm absolutely incorrect with that, and how dare I? But all I can do is apologise. And as an Englishman, I'm pretty sure I know everything about Australia.
yeah, me too.
And so, at these festivals, are there
Yeah,
places that people can pitch screenplays or scripts?
that's a really good question, and yes, absolutely. I mean, there aren't really specific places, except that there will be, because Canon is the main festival sponsor. There'll be something called the Canon Lounge, which will be in the BAFTA building at 19194 Piccadilly, so people can chill there during the day. And that is a good place to meet people. And also there's some parties and industry events, and so absolutely, it's actually a really good place to meet people. it's all, I guess, fairly random and all about talking to people and saying hi. I think, and I'm not sure, and I should have checked, but Rain Dance often does a thing called live ammunition, which is where people actually actively come and pitch screenplays. I think they're doing a session during the festival, but I'm not absolutely sure. But they generally do that. I think about once a month or so, or once every couple of months. So then it's a more formalized way of people coming and pitching screenplays in front of a panel of industry judges. Um, but definitely, it's actually, I would say that one of the strongest points about the festival is mingling with lots of producers, directors, some financiers as well. So it's kind of the perfect place to come and pitch your screenplay, I would say. You just got to be
Brilliant.
prepared to talk to people, which you wouldn't
Oh
know
no,
from the way I've been rambling, but yeah, I'm quite shy about going up to strangers, but it's very doable there. So
or
yeah, a good question.
severe social anxiety. So yeah, I can relate to you with that. Absolutely. So where do you get all your ideas from? You've written so many different things over the years.
Oh, Newt, well, I find the real world absolutely terrifying. So, you know, I don't even have to stick my nose out the front door. I mean, well, you know as well as me, it's enough to turn on the TV or even not, even just turn on your computer and it all pops up in your browser. So I
Yeah.
do find people, not us, not horror writers, but just I do find the world very scary and a lot of people in it very, very scary and situations scary. And even when people aren't being scary, scary shit just happens, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think just about everything. Like you can overhear a snippet of conversation, or you can see a headline in the news, or um, have nightmares
Well, Stephen
and then
King
write them
said
down.
every one of
Yeah.
his nightmares made him $1 million.
Who said that?
Stephen King.
Stephen King. Oh,
I mean,
if sympathize that he's having had nightmares. Oh,
I had a wonderful nightmare, and I woke up in the morning and I was like, brilliant, this is going to be the best book I've ever written. And then I realized, no, no, you just dreamt scene for scene Maggie's Grave by David Sodergren. You can't write that. And it was because the day after that, I was going to be having an author chat with David Sodergren. So when I'd gone to bed, he'd been on my mind. No, no, I shouldn't phrase it like that. But his work was on my mind. So
I
I'd
love
obviously
David.
had a nightmare that was one of his books.
I know some of our nightmares are kind of shared in a weird way among a lot of us as well. I mean, yes, some are inspired, as you say, by other people's stories, but also there's certain things, I guess, that disturb most of us enough to crop up in our dreams in a bad way.
I read some advice and it said always keep a notepad by your bed so that you can jot down your nightmares. And I thought, oh, what a lark. That sounds like a phenomenal idea. I did that. I had a nightmare. It terrified me. I woke up in the morning and I was like, let's see what this banger was. It was just 3 words. The pigeons have, 4 words, hands. And I was like, ah, oh no, come on, buddy. Come on. So no, I didn't get a book out of that. I did get it featured in one of the many unpublished novels that I've written. But no, I didn't get a book out of it. Well, I did get a book out of it, but not a published story out of it.
But what a great idea, Newt. And we've got to start getting your books out there.
Mm. No, 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 no. I've published 14 books, and I've probably about double that number that aren't published, but they're
Well,
not published for
exactly.
a reason. They're no.
Well,
Uh, they are they're either sequels that I've written that didn't quite hit it off, or they're sequels that changed genre halfway through. And it's one of those things, the amount of work it would take to make them publishable is more than the amount of work it would take me just to write another book.
Newt, but you've got a fan base already because I mean, 14 books, oh my God. And you're talking to me about prolific because I've written a few short stories.
Ah,
14 books is
you've done over
14,
100.
yeah, short stories.
You've
But
got to
but
say.
Newt, but 14 books is amazing. And with the others, I mean, does it does it really matter that they change genre? I mean, I'm thinking of From Dusk Till Dawn, which goes from being a sort of somewhat slightly rapey heist movie into a full-blown vampire. I guess you can call them vampire movie. And I mean,
That is a surreal movie.
it is. So I'm
Yeah,
just wondering, maybe changing genre in a novel, in a book, maybe that would be pretty cool.
maybe. Yeah, I do go back and look at them periodically, and I start editing them, and then I'm like, no, 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 and then I get another idea, and then I just write a book, and then I just publish it. Uh,
You make it sound so easy.
no, no, no.
I know
I
it
think
isn't. I know it isn't.
I think there
I
are
know.
three stages of writing a book for me. I do the outline, and I bullet points, scenes. I then take that outline, put it to one side. I forget it exists. I write the first like third of the book, and I think this is brilliant. This is gonna sell like hotcakes. This is the best stuff I've ever written. And then I get to the middle section, third, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, no, this is doomed to go to the pile of books that will never be published. This is awful. This is the worst thing ever. And then I write the ending, and I'm like, this is actually quite good. And then I get to the end and send it to my beta readers, and they reply with something like, "Not your worst book," which is the highest form of praise, or along with a whole load of bullet points, which we call the Apple Watches, which are continuity things that they found. I think you'll find in 1995 they did not have smartphones. Oh yeah, no, 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 that's right. Actually, Tom, that song was released 2 years later. They are phenomenal. They catch all this stuff. Like every reference I make, they either know it or they check it. So yeah,
Wow,
continuity is uh, thanks to them, my beta readers, that is not something I have to worry about. I constantly drop
fantastic.
clangers. I didn't know that
That's
eels have
brilliant.
scales, things like that. And I suppose I should research all this stuff as I write it, but I've gotten to a lazy point where I'm like, it will come out during the wash. I don't need to know. I don't need to know everything. I don't need to be an expert on it. I know Robert Harris, he spends like the first third of the year just doing solid research and knowing the material down to the nth degree. And yeah, I rely on my beta readers to do all that for me. So
It sounds
one day
brilliant.
they're going to get lazy and something's going to come out and I'll be lambasted. But until that day, I'm quite lucky.
Oh, good. No, that sounds good. I hope you eventually feel more love towards your other books and get them out there as well.
Well, I see them as educational. So even though they're not, I don't think they're publishable, I think I learnt a lot of lessons whilst I wrote them because I haven't had a formal education in literature. I'm dyslexic, so my grammar looks like pin the full stop on the page. Oh, it's been about 10 words. I should probably put a full stop. That's my level of grammar. Um, and so all these things, it sounds like it's a waste, but it absolutely wasn't, because those mistakes got me to where I am now. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. So yeah, there was not any wasted time there. It's they did their job.
Cute. That's that's very philosophical and positive thinking, but I have faith that they will do more than just be educational for you.
And there were also other times when I wrote about topics and that I knew nothing about, which is um, nothing new with me. But you some topics you really, that because they're so important, you actually do need to know about them before you publish them. I wrote I don't I get these ideas and I write a book and then I realize you should not have written that book. I wrote a story about a woman with postnatal depression who was being gaslit by her husband. And it's always because someone's been talking to me, or one of my family members has had an issue or anything like that, and it just gives me an idea and I write it. And then I wrote it and I finished it because I like to finish projects. And I went, you are not qualified to write about postnatal pregnancy as a male gay man who has knows nothing about pregnancy. You shouldn't put a book on the market about a topic that affects so many people and is written with complete ignorance. So I was like, you wrote it, you got it out of your head. Now put it in a drawer and forget about it.
But you know what? If you went back to the book, if you read either talk to people who've suffered from postnatal depression, or even read a lot about it and read what people have said, I think you would be just as, maybe not as qualified as somebody who's been through it, but then everybody who's been through it, I suspect, has a somewhat different experience anyway. I think you'd be as qualified as the majority of us. And also, here's, I guess, where I'm going to say something really controversial, right? That there are things that capture our imagination, or that we get intrigued by or interested by or distressed by, which we've never experienced, which is nothing to do with us, but something about it speaks to us. And I think, just my opinion, and I've never done it because, unlike your kind words, I'm not that prolific, but I just think we should all be able to explore things that we perhaps aren't qualified to write about or whatever. But I think we have the right to explore and look at and think about and write about something that speaks to us for whatever reason, because there's a friend affected, or we've seen something, or we've read something. I mean, I know that's a controversial thing to say, but I honestly think human experience is so incredible, and the fact that we empathize and have compassion and even just imagine what it's like for others, I don't think we should shy away from exploring that. I agree with you that we should research and find out as much as we can. I know there's this thing with sensitivity readers now, so maybe find a friend who is more qualified to see that we're not saying anything outrageous. But I just think we should explore and go wherever our heart takes us. That's a very personal view.
That's a really, really good point. And yes, I should, rather than being embarrassed about it, I guess I should lean more on my friends when it comes to these sort of topics.
Lean on your friends. They'll be happy to be lent on by you, Newt, I'm sure. I'm going to say
Yeah.
something even more wacky now. I'm going to say something so out there, right? But lately, I've sort of started thinking that maybe we do have past lives. Like maybe we're not a soul residing in a body, but a body being the tip of an iceberg for a soul that tries out different things in different lifetimes. And
Or
therefore,
genetic memory.
who, what's that?
Genetic
So
memory.
genetic memory and kind of soul memory. And I mean, who knows if we do have past lives, right? Then who knows what we were before? And just maybe, and this is a theory I've just come up with now, so apologies, but you've been inspiring me to think strange thoughts. But but and now I've forgotten what I was saying, but more or less, you know, who knows what we were before? And if we suddenly feel drawn to a subject or an experience, maybe it's something that we once had in a past life and we've forgotten, and it's now somehow calling to us. So I would say to try not to judge each other for how we look now and who we are now, because who knows what we were and who knows what we might be. So let's just follow our hearts. And as long as we do things with kindness and try to gain as much knowledge in today's life and reality, and I think we're good to go.
You make an excellent point there, and I guess that's what books are, aren't they? They are, you're taking a life, and as you read it, you are living that life that's put there. It's a portable mechanism for transporting past lives, future lives, fictional lives. Some of them are lives that we're glad that we're not living and haven't lived. Like, no, I don't think anyone's picked up the Diary of Anne Frank and thought, what a wonderful life. But others are aspirational warnings. So much. Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent point. And thank you for having this read. Sorry. Thank you for having this
So,
absolutely lovely conversation with me.
Newt, thank you. I'm sorry I was rambling. I overcompensate for my shyness and introversion with
Nonsense,
nice
nonsense.
friends. So I really appreciate you inviting me and talking to me and putting up with me.
It was an absolute pleasure. And don't worry about rambling. Rambling is like 90% of what I do. It's just mostly I do it on the keyboard. Right.
Oh, yeah. I
Thank you very
haven't
much,
been
my
lately.
dear.